Hello amazing people, how you doing? My name is Bilikis and you're welcome to my channel. If you are new, you're in the right place and you're all welcome. Please make sure you subscribe and tap on the notification bell to get notified each time we put up a video. And you can follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovations. We'll be waiting for you there. Today's tutorial is going to be an easy one. It is on how to make this simple dress I have on. And you can see it is so lovely and easy to make. It is just a simple dress with yoke. You can use any type of material to just mix it up. Like what I have on is chiffon for the yoke, and then for the other fabric is just the African print fabric. But you can make use of any material at all. So I'm going to teach you step by step on how to make this with the Faux Jabot. It is very easy to make. I'm going to show you step by step. Before we go over to the work table, our online classes for March is about to start on the 9th of March. So if you are interested in the beginners, intermediate, advanced classes, contact us through the contact number in the description box below. We'll be waiting for you. Also for the sewing tools, they are all available. So right now, let's get over to the work table to get started and make this beautiful dress. So this fabric I have here, this is just a leftover of the fabric I worked with for the last tutorial. So it's just 2 yards of fabric. And then here I have chiffon material. So black is a good combination for this. So I'm going to use this, but for better understanding, I will be drafting on a paper, then we'll just place it on a fabric to cut it out. Though the one I have on was drafted directly on the fabric, but with this pattern paper, you'll be able to see what I'm doing well. So now let's get started. Now I have to join two papers together to achieve a longer paper. The length of the dress you are making is very essential. Like for me, with seam allowance is 44. It is a short dress, so for me it is 44, which could be very long for average women, but if you are tall, 43, 44 is fine. So plus seam allowance for the lower part for me is 44 inches. So now from my paper, this is the starting point. So from this point now, I will insert the length of my dress. So here I have 44 inches. So that is the length plus seam allowance. After that, then I will insert all my vertical measurements. Half of my armhole measurement usually is 8.5, but because this is a free dress, you don't always want a fitted dress all the time. So I had to increase it to 9 inches. My waist measurement remains the same, which is 16.5. Then going over to my hip measurement, which is 24, and then the hem of the dress, which is 44. So with this now, we can get started. I'm going to use this to cut out for both the front and the back. The back is going to have the zipper, but let's concentrate on this first. So let's go to the shoulder measurement. Right now, I'm just going to insert half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8.5. So that's with seam allowance. It's actually 8 plus half an inch seam allowance. So that's a total of 8.5 plus seam allowance. Then I'll just come down here. 8.5, then make a straight line. So the next thing I will do is this. Since it is more than 8 inches, so I'm just going to come down by 1 1/4 to 1.5. Then measure 3 inches. That's what I have. So now what I'm going to do now is to insert all the horizontal measurements. My bust circumference is 42. When I divide that by 4, I'm going to have 10.5. But because it's a free dress, I'm going to make it 11 inches. So 11, then I will have to add 1 inside seam allowance, so that will make it a total of 12. So that's 12. I hope you can see that. Then going over to my waist measurement. Here, I just want to neglect the waist measurement. Why? Because it is a free dress. So all I have to do now is to remove half an inch from whatever I have here. Since I have 12 here, I'm just going to make here 11.5. So that's that. If it's visible. Then going over to the hip. Quarter of my hip measurement. My hip is 45. When I divide that by 4, that will give me 11¼ but I'm just going to round it up to 12 because it is a free dress. So instead of 11¼ I'm making it 12. You don't need to do up to that, or you could even do more than that. That depends on your preference. So 12 inches, then plus 1 inch seam allowance, that makes it 13. So I have 13 here. Now let's connect that first before we move on. Now going to the hem of the dress. All I'm just going to do is just add 4 inches to whatever you have on the hip area. And since I have 13 here, so I'm just going to add 4 to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 17. You can see that is just so easy. So that's what I have. Then I can connect it. So I haven't done that now. I'm going to take my measuring tape and come up by 1 inch here. Then I'm going to connect straight to somewhere around here. I'll just use my hip cuff to connect that to somewhere around here. So that is it on how to make the dress. So all we have to do now is to just insert the armhole and neck width and neck depth, then cut out the yoke. So I'm just going to get the midpoint of here. For the front, I'll come in by 3/4 inch. So then my armhole off. So this is for the back. For the front. That was easy. So now for the neck width and neck depth, it's better when the neck is a little bit high, but that totally depends on your preference. There's no standard to that, but because of the Faux Jabot, that was what I was talking about that. So here now I can just make the neck width 3½. 3½. So 3½ is here along the slope, and then the depth 3½. So that's for the front. So that's the front neckline. Then for the back, I'm just going to come down by 1 inch from the starting point. So now the dress is ready. The last thing is this: you have to add your seam allowance to the shoulder area. Remember, we added to the hem already. That was why I had 44 inches. So ½ inch. ½ inch. So it is time to cut out. You can just see it is very easy to make the pattern. So now I will have to cut everything out so that we can cut out the yoke. So when you get here, just make a slight curve with your scissors. Don't make it sharp. Then we'll be cutting out the back armhole and the back neckline, because we want to use both this pattern to cut both the front and the back. So can you see that? So that is this. This is the dress pattern. So you can just make this and keep it. Whenever you want to make a simple dress, you can use it. So now let's talk about the yoke. For the yoke, I'll just make it 7 inches. 7 inches is fine. So all I have to do now is this. So remember, for the back neckline it was 1 inch, so place your 1 inch there and measure 7 inches. So this is 7 inches. Come to the neck region here, measure 7 inches, and I'm just going to do a straight line. So extend it to the back. So now, because we are going to cut this off, another thing, we've had a seam allowance to hold the pattern. So what you will do now is add half an inch. That's for the seam allowance to join the panels back. So also write add half inch. So now I can cut it out. So what I was saying is, to this pattern now, just add extra half an inch here. Also for this, for the chiffon, half an inch, so we'll use that to join it back up. So first we are going to cut the back panel exactly like this before we trim off this front armhole and then the front neckline. I've placed the pattern paper on the fabric now. The fabric is folded. So that first we'll be cutting for the back, and the back is going to have a zipper. So that was why I left 1 inch on the fold before placing the pattern at all. I just used my tailor's chalk to draw a straight line before placing the paper. So we still have the back armhole intact. So now I'm going to cut this out. What it looks like, and don't forget add half inch, which I've added to the upper part. The next thing now is to cut this point, is to slit it open, because it is the zipper allowance. There's going to be a zipper there. So that's for the back. So now we are going to cut for the front. So this is for the back now. So for the front, I'll have to trim off this armhole area. So then I'm going to place on the fabric and cut out exactly the same thing without the zipper allowance. Out for the front, and as I've said, don't forget these. That was why I asked you to write add half an inch seam allowance. So I've added the half an inch for the upper part to use to join to the chiffon material. So you can always keep your pattern in case you want to make something like that next time. So this is what the front looks like. Can you see that? So the next thing now is to go cut the yoke with the chiffon material. Cut out the yoke for the back because we still have the back armhole and the back neckline. So I just place it on it and then add half an inch. So I just added that. So I'm just going to slit this open because that's for the back, the seam allowance. Don't forget to add that. So this is what I have now. So this is what the back looks like. So to cut the front now, I'm just going to finish up the neckline. And then the front armhole. So I'm going to place it and cut out for the front too. Right now I've cut out the front, so this is what it looks like, and then the back. So the next thing now is to just cut my basic sleeve. Can you see for the front? So I'm just going to cut my basic sleeve and then strip for the Faux Jabot. I've cut out my basic sleeve. So this is it. One for this side and one for the other side. So if you don't know how to make your basic sleeve, you can just search Bilikis signatures, how to make basic sleeve. It's just gonna plop up. So that is it for the sleeve. And then for the Faux Jabot, this is what I have here. I have a strip of 60 inches. Let me check. Almost. So I needed 2 of that. Okay, sorry, I have 56 So I have 56 here times 2. So 1, 2. So that's 56 each by 4. So this is 4 inches. Can you see that? So I'm going to join this together to have a very long one like the one I have on. So it's going to be very long. So I'm going to join it here. And then after joining it, I'm now going to close it up. So after joining it, I'm going to close it up by ½ an inch. So once I close it up by ½ an inch, I'll be left with 1½ So because opening it up, it is 4 inches. When I close it, then I have 2. So when I take ½ an inch, I'll be left with 1½ So it will be 56 by 1½ after sewing it up. Then I'm going to bring it all out. So now let's start sewing up our dress. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to attach the yoke to the main dress. I'm going to remove the sticker. So this is for the front. So now I'm going to make sure right side is facing the right side, and I'm going to take the ½ an inch we added. So this is what I'm going to have. I'm going to take in ½ an inch to have my full front pattern, and then for the back I'm going to do the same thing. Remember, for the back it is 2 because of the zipper allowance. So for the back now, can you see? So what I will do now is to make sure the right side are facing each other, ½ an inch, ½ an inch. So those are the 4 steps I'm going to go to the sewing machine to do, then come back. The yoke has been added back to the main fabric. You can see what I have now. So this is the back. The next thing for me to do is to join the shoulders. Remember, we left ½ an inch for the shoulder. I'm going to do that now. So what I'm going to do is to take each shoulder, join it by ½ an inch. Can you see? Then the other shoulder, everything just has to match if you cut it out right. So I'm going to join the shoulder now, and then use the bias strip to finish the neckline. I have a detailed video on how to hem the neckline with bias strip. So I'm going to join the shoulder and finish it up now. Finish the neckline. Can you see that? So on the back, this is what it looks like. Let me show you the front. So can you see that? So this is it for the front panel. So the next thing I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to attach the sleeve. So now this is for the front. So this one will be for this. This will be for this. So what I will do is this point I have notched. I'm going to match it up with the shoulder seam here, and then fix it all round. After attaching it, I won't sew the side yet. Then I will fix the zipper for the back. I've made a tutorial on how to fix a zipper too. So after fixing the zipper, then I can take the 1 inch for the side. If you want a pocket, fine. If you don't want a pocket, fine. So that's what I'll do now. First, to attach the sleeve, or fix the zipper first before the sleeve. So taking the side seam will be the last thing to do. So let me just do that and see the final result. Attach the sleeve. You can see that the zipper, and then I've sewn the side. I even added the pocket to it. So that is what it looks like. So what I'm left with is to hem the lower part. I've added the zipper too. So can you see that? So the most important thing now is for me to give it a good press, hem the lower part and give it a good press. So then the last thing now, I have my long strip of fabric sewn and torn out. So this is the point where I joined it. You can see that. So then I top stitch here because that was where I brought out all the strip of fabric. So what I'm going to do now is this. Just make sure you note the midpoint. So from here, I know this is the midpoint with the zipper. So I'm just going to place it here. Make sure it's in between. You can leave some space about 1 inch from the neckline here. Can you see? Then I'm just going to run a stitch from the beginning of the strip down to this point. So I'm just going to sew it down. So once I have this, then it will be this way. And you see, so what I will do now is to sew this down, give it a good press, and show you the final look. The result of the dress, you can see how beautiful it is. It's so nice. So make sure you make yours and share with us on our Facebook group Sewing Innovations, and tag me on Instagram with his signatures. Make sure you give me a giant thumbs up if my tutorial has been helpful. Now let me go rock my how-to of this dress now. So I have to go. I remain your girl Bilikis.